Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, we want to learn about Erasure and bridge method and relation between them and generics in Java. So first, let's see what is Erasure. The way Java implements generics with the concentration that it should be compatible with pre-existing non-generic code is through the use of Erasure. When your Java code is compiled, all generic type information is removed. This means replacing type parameters with their bound type, which is object if no explicit bound is specified, and then applying the appropriate cast with the usage of type arguments to maintain type compatibility with the types specified by the type arguments. The compiler also enforces this type compatibility. This approach to generics means that no type parameters exist at runtime. They are simply a source code mechanism. And now, what is bridge method? When compiling a class or interface that extends a parameterized class or implements a parameterized interface, the compiler may need to create a synthetic method, which is called a bridge method, as part of the type of erasure process. Compiler will need to add a bridge method to a class to handle situations in which the type erasure of an overriding method in a subclass does not produce the same erasure as the method in the superclass. Here, a method is generated that uses the type erasure of the superclass, and this method calls the method that has the type erasure specified by the subclass. Of course, these bridge methods only occur at bytecode level. These methods are not seen by you and also are not available for your usage. Before going to our example, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, I want to ask you to subscribe my channel and also give me a like to encourage me making more videos. Thank you. In our example, the subclass generic2 extends generic but use a string specified version of generic. Also inside generic2, getObject method is overridden with a string specified as the return type. Here, the problem is that because of type erasure, the expected form of getObject will be like this. So for handling this problem, the compiler generates a bridge method with the preceding signature that calls the string version. If you check the compiled class file for generic2, you will see something like this. Please notice that the only difference between the two getObject methods is their retain type. Normally this would cause an error, but because this does not occur in your source code, it does not cause a problem, and it is handled correctly by the JVM. Now let's see what is ambiguity errors. These kind of errors occur when erasure causes two seemingly distinct generic declarations to resolve to the same erase type, causing a conflict. Let's see a practical example. Sample generic class declares two generic types, T and V. Inside sample generic class, we try to overload set methods based on parameters of type T and V. This looks reasonable because T and V appear to be different types. However, there are two ambiguity problems here. First, as sample generic class is written, there is no requirement that T and V actually be different types. For example, it is perfectly correct to construct a sample generic class object like this. So both T and V will be replaced by a string. This makes both versions of set identical, which is an error. The second problem is that the type erasure, as we discussed in last example of set methods, reduces both versions to this. So overloading of set method in sample generic class is inherently ambiguous. For solving this problem, if you know the V will always be some type of number, for example, you can solve it by rewriting class like this. This change causes my generic class to compile, and you can even instantiate objects. This works because Java can accurately determine which method to call. But also there is another problem here. Here, because both T and V are number, which version of set method should be called? Again, the call to set method is now ambiguous. The best way for solving this problem is to use two separate method names rather than trying to overload set methods. Sometimes it involves the restructuring of the code, because ambiguity frequently means that you have a conceptual error in your design.